Lila had always been drawn to the woods behind her grandmother's house. Even as a child, she would press her face against the kitchen window, watching the trees sway in the wind like shadowy giants whispering secrets to one another. Her grandmother had warned her never to venture too far in. "Those woods have a way of keeping things," she'd say, her voice low and grave. But Lila was 17 now, spirited and stubborn, and the mystery of the forest called to her like a siren's song. It started with small things, a rustling in the bushes just a little too close, the faint crunch of footsteps when she knew she was alone. She told herself it was just animals, the wind, her imagination running wild, but then came the gifts. The first one appeared on her windowsill one misty morning, a single white wildflower, its petals damp with dew. Lila had stared at it, her stomach twisting. She lived on the second floor. There was no way the wind had placed it there. Days passed, and the gifts grew more unsettling. A twisted bundle of twigs tied with red string, a smooth, dark stone with her initials crudely carved into it. And then, the worst of all, a Polaroid slipped under her door. In it, she was standing at the edge of the woods, completely unaware, her back to the camera. The photo was dated 3 days prior. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps as she turned it over. On the back, in jagged, uneven letters, was written, "You're even prettier up close." That was the moment the fear truly took root. Lila told her parents, but they dismissed it as a prank. Maybe one of the boys from school trying to scare her. The police were no better. Without a direct threat, there was little they could do. So Lila did the only thing she could think of. She armed herself with pepper spray and a pocket knife, and she decided to find out who was watching her. The woods were different that day. The sunlight barely pierced the thick canopy, casting everything in a sickly green gloom. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic and sour that made her nose wrinkle. She followed the overgrown trail deeper in, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure whoever was out there could hear it. Then she saw it. Cabin. It was small, sagging with age, its wooden walls blackened by mildew and rot. The windows were boarded up, except for one, a single pane of glass, cracked and grimy, reflecting the dim light like a dead, staring eye. The front door hung slightly ajar, creaking softly in the breeze. Lila's instincts screamed at her to run, but something compelled her forward. She needed to know. She had to know. The inside of the cabin was worse. The stench hit her first. Mold, sweat, and something cloyingly sweet like rotting fruit. The walls were covered in newspaper clippings, maps, and her blood turned to ice. Photos. Dozens of them. All of her. Walking to school, laughing with friends, sleeping in her bed. A choked sob escaped her throat as she stumbled back, her legs trembling. That's when she heard it, the soft creak of a floorboard behind her. She wasn't alone. The man stood in the doorway, his silhouette blocking the light. He was tall, gaunt, his face shadowed beneath a hood. But she could see his smile, too wide, too eager. "You finally came," he breathed, taking a step forward. Lila didn't think. She moved. She bolted past him, her shoulders slamming into the doorframe as she burst outside. The woods blurred around her as she ran, branches clawing at her arms, her breath coming in ragged, terrified gasps. Behind her, she could hear him, his footsteps pounding against the earth, his voice a low, guttural growl. "Lila, you can't run forever." She didn't stop. She couldn't. She tripped over a root, crashing hard onto the ground, pain shooting up her leg. The footsteps grew closer. She scrambled behind a thick oak, pressing herself against the bark, her entire body shaking. He was there, right there. She could hear his ragged breathing, smell the sour tang of his sweat. "Where are you, little bird?" he cooed, his voice dripping with mock sweetness. Lila clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle a whimper. A twig snapped inches from her hiding spot. Then a distant shout her name. Her father. The man froze. For one endless second, Lila thought he would find her anyway, drag her back into the dark. But then, with a frustrated snarl, he turned and vanished into the trees. Lila didn't move until she heard her father's voice again, closer this time. When she finally stumbled into his arms, she was sobbing, her body racked with tremors. The police searched the woods. They found the cabin, but the man and all the photos were gone. Lila never went back into the woods, but sometimes late at night she'd wake to the sound of her window creaking open, and on the sill, a single white wildflower, its petals glistening with dew. If you enjoyed Lila's chilling fight for survival, don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales that will haunt your nights. And remember, just because you escape the woods doesn't mean the woods escape you. Some secrets don't stay buried, and some watchers never blink. Until next time, sleep with the lights on.